Hey y'all, you're listening to 90 Sports. This is Jeff. I'm here with Mark. We're talking about the SEC today.
SEC, Yellow Hammer, roll tide.
Rammer Jammer, fucking Alabama and all that shit, yeah. So, now that we've officially pissed off everyone in the SEC, let's win back some Bama fans by not telling you who we think's going to win the conference, but who you think is going to win the East and lose to Bama. So, Mark, do you think Missouri can repeat as East Division champions, as logical as Missouri in the East sounds?
No.
All right. Yeah, looking at Missouri's 2014 schedule, starts off real hard. Their out-of-conference schedule, their only test out of conference is UCF. They start off hosting South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits.
Do you see in the SEC who will most likely be starting off as 0-2?
Big name team in the SEC starting off as 0-2. Florida?
No.
Georgia?
Yes. They play Clemson and then go away to South Carolina.
Ooh, that's right. But don't worry. After week 3, they will be 1-2.
Yes, because they play Troy.
Then you got Tennessee, and if Butch Jones can get that program going again, they might be dangerous. Vanderbilt is, I think they're just going to struggle this year.
Yeah, I don't see Vanderbilt being able to compete.
They lost Franklin, and they lost a lot of talent.
Yep.
So
maybe South Carolina. Now that Clowney's gone, I think it's actually a good thing because there was so much hype built up around him, and if he was actually going to give it his all every single game,
which
that's
he
what people
admitted
were
he
worried
didn't
about.
last year.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think South Carolina is going to win the East. They are going to be hurt probably next year and the year after because have you heard the issues they are having right now with eligibility?
No.
It's like 8 members or some crazy high number like that of their 2014 class have not qualified.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think South Carolina set up their schedule to try and actually do something this year because outside of the SEC, they play ECU, they play Furman, and then they play South Alabama. And they finish the year, of course, with the rivalry game against Clemson. But other than that, they don't play anyone.
Furman's your standard cupcake, and South Alabama's not a total pushover, just as Tennessee last year.
Right.
That was Tennessee. They're not going to look good against, or hell, even ask NC State a couple years ago, but they're not going to look good against a South Carolina. I think these Sun Belt teams realize that, and we will talk about that in our Sun Belt preview. All right, Mark, what game are you looking forward to the most?
Are we allowed to pick rivalry games?
Why not?
I'm going to have to go with the Iron Bowl. After last year's ridiculous game with the field goal return for a touchdown.
Let's just call it what it was. Shenanigans.
Right. I want to see how Alabama responds to it because the whole world is going to be watching that game. I'm waiting for that game, and it's going to have numbers like the national championship game. I mean, everybody last year heard about that game, so this year they're going to be like, oh, man, I want to see that happen again.
Yeah. I honestly could see it being granted, it's going to be in Bryant-Denny Stadium this year, so it's not going to be the same thing. But I could see the beatdown being like the Brazil-Germany game.
Right.
Where the machine just comes in and it's just like, you're dead.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, Nick Saban's probably going to be a little pissed off.
A little bit.
So what game are you looking forward to in the SEC?
For me, it really depends on if Florida can get their crap together by the time November rolls around. Because we've seen, you and I are Florida State fans, and we've seen what Jeremy Pruitt can do in one season running a defense.
Right.
So if he can get Georgia's defense into shape, by the time Saturday, November 1st rolls around and they head down to Jacksonville and Florida isn't completely just dying again, that could be a really interesting game. You got Georgia, Florida, World Georgia's cocktail party, everyone getting hammered in Jacksonville, which is pretty much the only thing you can do in Jacksonville.
Right.
So it should be a fun atmosphere. I think it should be a good game to watch. Mainly because the West is already decided. None of those games will matter.
Yeah, I don't see anyone competing with Alabama.
If you had to pick the one game you are not looking forward to.
The one game that I am not looking forward to involving an SEC team, I am going to pick Alabama against Western Carolina. Because
Western.
Just like
Go
last year.
Western. Go Cats.
Just like last year, Alabama scheduled a cupcake before the Auburn game as a week of pretty much rest.
Just like every year.
Last year, when they did that, they played against. Last year, they played against Chattanooga. To start the game, it was one of the worst games I have ever watched. Like, the whole first quarter was so boring. Alabama looked terrible. Chattanooga looked like Chattanooga. And it was 7-0 at the end of the first quarter when you're expecting Alabama to come out and put up like 21 points in the first quarter. But they were turning the ball over. They were just doing all kinds of ridiculous stuff. And by the end of the game,
I think that's probably a game where Nick Saban came out instead of Saban bless you.
yeah. And in that game, Alabama went 1 for 3 on 4th downs. And they also had a fumble in which they lost.
For my game that I am just not looking forward to, we established in the MAC that UMass is just going to be terrible again.
Yeah, they're going to be bad.
Well, they will make their way to Nashville for September 13th and play a severely depleted Vanderbilt team. It's just not going to be pretty, like, at all. Like, Vandy will win. Like, they will win. It just won't be pretty. Like, you won't even go there and be like, yeah, we put up a ton of points. It's going to be like 28-13. They won, but it shouldn't have been that close, and it was a boring 28.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that one at all either.
I guess we need to talk about Bama a little bit beyond who's going to lose to them. So let's talk about the topic everyone is talking about, but let's tweak it a little bit. What do you think of Nick Saban trying to play down what everybody knows will happen?
Yeah, I mean, we all know that Jacob Coker's going to be the starter. He might be trying to, start some competition in camp and everything, but, I mean, it's set in stone. Coker's going to be starting. He's what Nick Saban's been looking forward to.
I know you personally aren't really a big fan of what you've seen out of Coker on the field.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen anything, like, out of the ordinary. Like, he doesn't have that it factor that I think Jameis Winston had, at least when they were taking the field at FSU. Any game that he got brought into, I don't know. I didn't really see it from him. He didn't look too invested in the game.
Talent-wise, they're both pretty close, and I've been a Coker fan pretty much like since once he committed to Florida State, or I found out we were recruiting him. I started following him and saw some video of him because in high school he played up until his senior year. He played in the wishbone, so if you're a pocket passer, the wishbone does you no good. But once his high school transitioned to a more passing-friendly offense, people started to notice him. By that point, he was already offered and I think committed at that point to Florida State before people even started looking at him. Alabama offered him late, and that was every Florida State fan's worry was he going to flip? But once they offered, he said, nah, you guys didn't want me earlier. I'm committed to Florida State. I've been with them for a month. Eventually did sign with Florida State. Then the next year we brought in Jameis Winston.
And that's it.
That's pretty much it because E.J. Manuel was still there. And then once E.J. was gone, there was a battle, but Winston won it because I'll agree with you. It doesn't seem like Coker has that it factor. He'll get the job done, but he doesn't have the it factor, I don't think.
Right.
But yeah, Nick Saban's crazy. Phillip Sims may not have looked good. Obviously we didn't see their spring practices, but he didn't look that good in the spring game. Beyond that, he didn't look really decent. He was just meh.
Yeah, that's the way to describe it.
Saban's trying to spin it as, oh, well, we really didn't do the stuff he was good at. Well, I understand spring games are going to be vanilla, but why wouldn't you put him in even a very basic package of whatever he's good at, like dual threat or pocket passing if that's your thing? But I'm pretty sure Sims is more of a dual threat guy. He'll run around on you.
Right.
If you wanted to show him off just a little bit, give him a chance to look good for your fans, give them some hope in him, why not put him in a very basic setup for a dual threat guy?
Probably because he's not going to be their quarterback at all.
Oh, so you're saying Nick Saban knows that Jacob Coker is going to start?
Correct. So this has been our SEC preview show. I am Mark, and for Jeff, we are 90% sports.
10% turning left.